Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, Arsenal correspondent at Goal, back again to just discuss really the fallout from last night's game against Manchester City. Obviously Arsenal losing 3-0. I have done a video on the whistle. I did a quick brief video doing a few player ratings and talking about the game, but I thought I'd come on and talk a little bit more, a bit deeper into that game, and more so the fallout that has come from it. Certainly the fallout involving David Luiz and Mesut Ozil. One of those players played last night. The other player obviously didn't. And they have been the big talking points really since the defeat and since Mikel Arteta's post-match interview as well, and David Luiz's interview as well. So I thought I'd just come in here and sort of explain what I know about the situation and where Arsenal are with both players and how that kind of affects them going ahead towards the summer and the transfer market. I'll start with David Luiz, as he was a player who played last night. Now, look, we all saw he had a horror show at the Etihad. There's no other way of describing it. It was just an absolute dreadful 25 minutes, up there with one of the worst 25 minutes I'm sure you probably get in Premier League history. Came on, gave away the first goal, gave away the penalty for the second goal, and got sent off. I think he's the first player in Premier League history to come off the bench and do all three of those: give away a penalty, have a major error leading to a goal, and get sent off. That was how bad it was for David Luiz last night at the Etihad. And obviously criticism has been coming in everywhere for him. You heard Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville on Sky Sports yesterday immediately after the game, tearing into Luiz. Really laying into him. And fair play to Luiz, he came out and I thought his interview was good. It was revealing. He spoke about the issues with the contract, which Mikel Arteta certainly suggested were playing on David Luiz's mind, and that's why he didn't start yesterday. And so just discussing what's going on with that contract. Obviously, when he signed from Chelsea, he signed a 1-year deal with a clause which could activate another 12 months of that deal. That had to be taken up by I think it was about 6 weeks ago. Arsenal needed to take that up if they wanted Luiz to stay for another 12 months. They didn't take that up. That deadline is now passed. So if Arsenal are to do something with David Luiz, they need to agree on a short-term deal which will allow him to stay at the club until the end of this season, and then discuss possibly extending for a further season or two. Now, Mikel Arteta absolutely wants David Luiz to stay. He made that clear last night on Sky Sports. From what I understand and people I speak to at the club, Arteta is adamant he wants Luiz to stay. He still thinks he's a very good defender. He knows he made mistakes last night. He was not going to hide from that. But he thinks he's a very good defender. He thinks he's crucial to the way he wants Arsenal to play with his passing ability out from the back. He loves what he's like on and off the pitch and the experience he brings and what he brings to the team and the squad and the younger players at the training ground, and he wants Luiz to stay. He's made that clear. He's made it clear to Luiz. He's made that clear to the Arsenal hierarchy. Now, David Luiz wants to stay. He made that clear again last night as well. But there's an issue here. Now, David Luiz could have really pushed to sign his contract or get the clause taken up a couple of months ago. He didn't. And that's why, and kind of why we're in the situation we're in here, because Arsenal, the hierarchy, as much as Mikel wants Luiz to stay, the Arsenal hierarchy are hesitant. And they're hesitant not, from what I understand, because of his ability as a footballer, because like Arteta, I've been told that the Arsenal hierarchy, Edu obviously is close with Kia Joorabchian, which is Luiz's agent, really likes Luiz, really respects him as a footballer. Raul as well, I understand, really respects him as a footballer and respects him as a man. But they're hesitant. They're hesitant because of the financial side of things. Now, Arsenal and every single club have been absolutely hammered financially by the coronavirus pandemic. Not just this season, but going forward. It's making it very, very hard to plan for the future because, A, they don't know when fans are going to be allowed into stadiums. So next season, they don't know if... And every single behind closed doors home game, Arsenal are losing about £2 million. So they've had to refund that money for the last 4 games of this season, about sort of £8 to £9 million. It's ended up they're having to pay out in refunds to fans who'd already paid to watch the remaining 4 home games of this season. And then next season, they don't know if they're going to be losing £2 million a match for 5 matches, for 10 matches, for 15 matches, or for 19 league games. And if that does happen, if the entirety of next season is played behind closed doors, and we don't know yet, then Arsenal could stand to lose well over £100 million next year from all revenues, and that's with commercial factored into that, with, as I said, match day revenue, and so on. So Arsenal are finding it incredibly difficult to plan for the future at the moment, and that includes the transfer markets in the summer, and it includes contract renewals. So we're not just talking about Luiz here as well. You've got Luiz, remember, is not the only one in this situation. Pablo Mari, who we saw go off injured last night, Dani Ceballos as well. The players Arsenal have on loan, they all need to sign these short-term agreements if they want to stay beyond June the 30th. But to make the time frame even more pressing, those short-term agreements need to be signed by June the 23rd, which is next Tuesday. So, Arsenal are really up against it now in terms of the clock as well, really, as well as finances, because they need to decide if they want these players to stay till the end of the season, and Mikel Arteta certainly does, then they need to find an agreement before June the 23rd, next Tuesday. Now, Arsenal, from people I've been speaking to today, since last night's result, adamant the decision will be made. They know it has to be made, but they've just found it really hard in the last 2 months to plan anything for the future, and they're well aware if they make one decision on one player's contract now, then they kind of need to make it on everyone's. And we're not just talking about renewals as well. We've got the Aubameyang situation, the Saka situation, and that's why not much has happened really, and that's why nothing's really going on with David Luiz, or has gone on to David Luiz at this point. And it's got to this situation we're in now, where he doesn't know if he's coming or going. He wants to stay. The club, the manager wants him to stay, but the club are hesitant. They're not sure if it's worth the financial risk or the financial commitment of giving him, even if it's just for another year. It will be an awful lot of money. Luiz is a big earner at the club, and he's 33 years old, error-prone, as we saw last night. The club know that. They know he's not great when it comes to consistently performing. He'll have good matches, which he did prior to the lockdown. You've got to remember, when Arsenal, at the turn of the year, when Arsenal were winning and improving under Mikel Arteta, Luiz was key to that. He was playing very, very well. He was Arsenal's best defender. Now, obviously, the lockdown's happened. He's come back and he's had a horror show in the first game back, which isn't ideal when everyone's jumping on his back. But you have to, I think you've got to take it all into context a little bit and look back to that time at the turn of the year, January, February, March, when Luiz was playing very, very well in that Arsenal back four. And, was getting a lot of praise for it. So I think that has to be remembered when you discuss David Luiz. Now, whether Arsenal decide to give Luiz a contract, I'm not sure. From the people that I've been speaking to today, it seems to me like they're gearing up to him possibly leaving the club, and the reasons are being given why he might come to that. They might come to that conclusion, but I'm not sure. A lot's going to happen between now and next Tuesday, and it's not just going to be about Luiz that I've talked about. You've got the other loanees that needs to be done. Cedric Suarez as well, we haven't even mentioned, who's basically the forgotten man at Arsenal, not even played for him yet since he signed on loan in January. So there's lots for Arsenal to do, and it's just been a really difficult time for them to plan and to make decisions, because they're just totally unaware of how much money they're going to have or how much money they're going to be losing next year. And it's not just Arsenal, as I said earlier, this is about all football clubs. They're all in this situation. We've seen it with Bournemouth at the moment. Ryan Fraser's refusing to sign the short-term agreement, so he's going to leave after June 30th, not play again for the rest of the season, because he's got a big move to come this summer. He doesn't want to risk getting injured, and lots of players are in that situation. So it's not just the clubs who are struggling, it's the players as well who are making decisions and have got key decisions to make. That's the uncertainty that this whole period has brought. So I think you've got to take a few things into account before you really have a go at Luiz from last night's game. I know he was bad. I know it was dreadful to watch, and it was a real killer, having gone into the game with so much optimism and excitement that football's back, to suffer a defeat like that and to have so many mistakes that we saw was really tough to take. But I think you've got to look at it a few ways. And for Luiz, he's had the issues. He's had it really playing on his mind in certainly the last week or so. Wasn't expecting to come on early. He was barely even warmed up. He was sitting on the bench. Mari gets injured, and Sully Luiz is on, and his head's all over the place. So it was difficult for Luiz, just as it was difficult for Arsenal. So I think you've got to take that into consideration a little bit before you really jump on Luiz's back. Now, Mesut Ozil, that's a different situation. I'm sure you've seen Mesut Ozil's PR social media post today. I think it was Arsenal, no matter what was the caption. It's got him holding a badge, not even a current shirt, not even an Adidas shirt, which is just classic Ozil and the PR machine that is behind Mesut Ozil. You know, don't miss a trick. Obviously, with the whole Adidas thing and him ending his agreement with Adidas, you know, not even tweeting a current picture of an Adidas kit, but a Puma one with him holding a badge. I just thought it was classic. It was the whole classic PR machine behind Mesut Ozil. Now, the situation with Mesut Ozil is Arsenal absolutely want to get Mesut Ozil out of the football club. They have done for a long, long time. They wanted to for the last couple of windows, but he's not going anywhere. He's always said he's going to see out the last year of his contract. Mesut Ozil's agent consistently says that he's going to see out the last year of his contract before making a decision on where he's going to go next, where he might end his football career. I think the interesting thing with the whole Ozil situation, this is the first time we've seen Mikel Arteta go down the route that we saw Unai Emery go down before. Previously, before last night's game, Mesut Ozil had started all 10 Premier League fixtures that Mikel Arteta had taken charge of. And then to suddenly be out the squad completely yesterday when there's 9 substitutes as well, and not for an injury, remember, Mikel Arteta saying afterwards for tactical reasons. Again, we've heard that before with Unai Emery when explaining Ozil's absence. It was a big, big thing, I thought. Obviously, some stuff has gone on during the lockdown. We know that Arsenal players were heavily in wage cut talks. Ultimately, those talks led to a 12.5% wage cut for the majority of the squad, but not Mesut Ozil, the club's biggest earner. He didn't agree to take a pay cut. He's still getting full pay. Whether that's a reason for it, I don't know. I'm not sure on that, but I think it sort of has to come into the equation. For him to be left out completely by Arteta, and he's ready to play. He was absolutely ready to play. You saw on social media in the build-up to it, I think it was the day before, he tweeted, "We're ready." He would have thought he was going to play. To not even be in the match day squad was a massive, massive thing, and it just reaffirms Arsenal's determination to try and get Mesut Ozil out. He's still got a year left on his contract, and they know what it would mean if they could get him off the wage bill for the final year of his deal. It'd save him about £18 million, and that's £18 million that could be spent on, it could be spent elsewhere on transfer fee, on wages for a big free transfer, something like that to reshape the squad. And look, Mesut Ozil's a fantastic, fantastic footballer. I've loved watching him at Arsenal. Been some real highs, been plenty of lows as well, but some real highs. But he has absolutely come to the end of the road at Arsenal, and I think even the most passionate Mesut Ozil fan, and I know there are so many of you out there, have to look at the situation now. I think it would be best for all parties for Mesut Ozil to move on. It will do no good for anyone for him to stick around for another year. And, the fact that even Arteta now seems to have been angered or frustrated by what's going on off the pitch with Ozil to such an extent that he doesn't even include him in his matchday squad for a trip up to Manchester City says an awful lot, and for me it just needs to happen. Arsenal have to find a way of getting him off the books, but it's going to be so difficult. He doesn't want to take a wage cut. He's on 350 grand a week. Why would you? And he's not going to get that sort of money anywhere else. Even if Arsenal tried to get him out on loan, they'd have to pay a huge, substantial amount of his wages, which would still be, even if they paid half, they'd still save themselves about £9 million in a year. But, Ozil loves it in London. He's happy in London. He's settled in London. He's got business interests in London, so he doesn't want to go. And, this is Arsenal's fault. It's not Ozil's fault whatsoever. Arsenal gave him this deal. They chucked the money at him. It's proved to be an absolute disaster. I think we all can say that now. And Arsenal will stuck with him for another year, I think, but they will try once again to get him out in the summer, but I think it will be incredibly difficult for the reasons I've mentioned, for the wages, for everything. Ozil's going to want to stick around for a year, and I don't think he's the type of player who'll be type of man at the moment, the situation he's in, that's going to be too bothered to try and force his way out just to play football next season. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. This situation obviously started last night. Ozil's had his response now on social media, which we saw at the time when he was doing this with Unai Emery as well. Ozil ultimately won that battle. He got back in the team and Emery went. I don't think he's going to win this battle with Mikel Arteta. The club fully back Mikel Arteta. Arteta's not going anywhere anytime soon. And so I don't think it's going to be a case of... And also Arteta's a popular manager, so I don't think Ozil comfortably won the PR war against Emery. I don't think he's going to do that with Mikel Arteta, so it'll be a lot more difficult for him. to get the fans inside. And actually, if you look at the comments to the social media post today, and they're normally so positive when it comes to Ozil because he has got that huge following, a huge fan base. They're not quite as positive today, which I thought were quite interesting as well. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, it's going to dominate the headlines coming up to the summer just because of how important Arsenal know it will be if they can somehow get him off the books for a season. But doing that is going to be a hell of a difficult job. There's another press conference tonight. Mikel Arteta speaking, another Zoom press conference I'll be a part of at 7:30 this evening. It'll be interesting to get Arteta's views. He was very angry last night. You could tell he was frustrated. Wasn't the most talkative when he spoke to the media. It'll be interesting now when he's going to be in a slightly calmer environment if he really expands on the Luiz situation, talks more about the Mesut Ozil situation, which he didn't want to speak about after the game on Wednesday night, which is perhaps understandable given the result and the performance. So it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say about that, and also the injuries to Xhaka and Pablo Mari, which were not good, did not look at all good. And Arsenal head to Brighton on Saturday, and then got games next week away at Southampton and Sheffield United in the FA Cup. So will they be able to be involved for any of those games? Judging by how serious they looked when they went off and how much pain they looked when they went off, I think they'd be surprised. But we'll find out more from that from Mikel Arteta this evening in a press conference. So please do stay tuned to this channel, and I'll try and update you when I can. I've got accreditation for the game at Brighton, so on Saturday, so I'll be there at the Amex Stadium, and which will be quite an interesting insight into exactly what it's like behind closed doors at Premier League matches. So I'll try and do a video explaining exactly that, what it is like behind closed doors for journalists at matches, which hopefully will be a entertaining video. And head over to goal.com, please do. I've got a couple of stories up there at the moment, obviously reaction to last night's game and a piece on the whole Ozil-Luiz situation and what it means for Arsenal and their finances and how it all sort of shaping up towards the transfer market opening in the summer. Thank you very much for joining me once again, everyone. Thank you for your support on this channel, as always. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed it yet and you like what you see, then please do hit the subscribe button down there in the bottom corner or wherever it is. Stay safe, everyone. Have a good evening. I'll be back with you soon.